The following program is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Good evening, my people. What's going on? Your boy E-Buck in the building with a special episode of I Am Nighthawk. As we are here today with unfortunate circumstances for anybody who's been under the rock the last couple days. We lost two iconic people these last couple days. And basically, because I felt some type of way about both of them, really, I decided to come on the air during our summer break to kind of break some of it down and just talk about what those two people meant to me and just in general about life and how we go through what we go through. Forgive me, y'all. It's a couple bugs got in the house this evening, and hopefully I won't spend the whole show fighting them off from biting me because I don't want to get bit. But anyway, this is I Am Nighthawk, E-Buck the Nighthawk in the building, and we are going to spend this opportunity to talk about a couple of the icons that we've lost in the last 48 hours. The main one, of course, for me at least, being this young man right here. Now, understand, good people, never in my life of lifetimes did I ever think I would see a day where that man, that young man, all of 54 years of age, the exact same age I am right now, would be gone before me after living a life that he has lived. Um, it hit different for many reasons for me, but that was one of the main ones. The fact that somebody my own actual age right now is no longer among us. Died at the age of 54. As you guys know, I have my health issues, and from day to day, I think about them. I'm so thankful every day that I wake up in the morning and can acknowledge yet again that I am still among the life of the land of the living. Because honestly, I don't know how much longer I have. I know people don't like for you to talk like that, but when you are going through what you're going through and you have the good and bad days that I do, it's hard not to at least consider it from time to time. Ideally, no, I don't want to be gone no time soon. Lord knows I did not want Malcolm Jamal Warner to be gone anytime soon. But yet here we are because, as you know, none of us know the time and place of the coming of the Lord in life or in our life for that matter. We do know that in the end, the one thing we all must do one day is no longer be here to tell that story. And we don't know what day that is or how that may come. It's crazy when you hear the circumstances behind what happened to him, the accidental drowning. Just a man basically going out to relax before he went back to work, on vacation with his family, just taking a nice leisurely dip in the ocean. And one thing led to another, and now he's no longer here. And it's just crazy that we're actually sitting here on this day, July 22nd, talking about the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, I feel like it's important for a few reasons. One, obviously, he led a very good life as both an actor, activist, poet, musician, producer, this multi talented brother. Emmy nominated, Grammy Award winning person was Malcolm Jamal Warner. Started out as a theater kid, just liking theater and wanting to act a little bit. And then his opportunity came one fateful day out there in New York going for an audition as one of the Cosby kids. Ironically, they were looking for a kid that looked very much like Bill Cosby's son Enos, who was 6'2", rather lanky. Definitely not what Theo was, but as luck would have it, Bill gave him the nod, and he became his son on the Cosby Show. Road Stardom checking in as always. Thank you, Road, for checking in. We appreciate you for coming on into the show. We are talking about the life and times of one Malcolm Jamal Warner. Thank you for joining this special discussion on this special episode of I Am Nighthawk. Again, here's a picture of Malcolm in his days as, of course, our beloved Theo, and more recent picture of Malcolm Jamal Warner as well. Because, you know, the beautiful thing about it was after his great portrayal of Theo Huxtable on the Cosby Show, he went on to do other things with his life. Basically as an actor and producer and a writer on another sitcom known as Malcolm and Eddie that he did, of course, with the great Eddie Griffin, who was very hurt by his passing. And one of the things that I'm really loving about us all giving him his flowers, there were so many people on all social media platforms giving their attest or sharing pictures and photos or memories they have of Malcolm Jamal Warner. And, you know, it's, if you were an enemy or dislike that man for whatever reason, this obviously wouldn't be the time to put that out there like that. But it seemed like he had none of that in his life. It seemed like everybody had love for Malcolm Jamal Warner. I mean, you think about some of the things in his life. The fact that, like I said, he was on the Cosby Show, and how ironic that out of all the major characters on the Cosby Show, he is actually the first person to no longer be with us. Of all people on the show, he is the first one to be gone. When you just think about some of the other shows that we've watched over the years in my lifetime, the fact that shows like the Golden Girls come on TV and none of them are no longer with us. The fact that you think about Different Strokes and only one of them is still with us to this day. Shout out to Ty Bridges. When you think about shows like uh, Fresh Prince and Uncle Phil is gone, and the Jeffersons, and most of them are no longer with us. And just, you know, it's crazy how those things shaped and formulated our life as people. You got to understand, for a young black kid living in one of the blackest cities in America, here in my beloved city of Detroit, wasn't nothing better than the number one show on television for several years being about an all black family in a major city. And that family having members of that family that weren't just basic person. Hey, they were doctors and lawyers and things of that nature. People that went to college and all of that. How many of us can say that those two shows in particular, the Cosby Show and A Different World, changed our life as we know it? I mean, I had intended on going to college all along, but when I saw A Different World, I most definitely not only was knowing I had to go to college, but I also knew I had to stay in a dorm and had to experience college life for myself. I wanted all of that. And that was because of Different World. I wanted to be eventually the Huxtables and had that big family and all the great kids and fun times at the house and all of that. I mean, it's so sad because you definitely have to think about this as we talk about Malcolm. That the Cosby Show, though in syndication in some places, I think they show it on like TV One every now and then, something like that, but not to the degree that it should be. When you consider that the Cosby Show, in terms of ratings and overall success, was one of the most successful shows in the history of television, black, white, or otherwise, and should be syndicated everywhere. And at one time was just that until the unfortunate incidents that happened with Mr. Bill Cosby. And because of that, unfortunately, the people who were on the show with him and that made the Cosby Show what it was are penalized to a degree because of that. And it's so sad. I mean, it's nice that it's starting to get another life outside of syndication when you look at TikTok and a lot of people looking at the various clips that's been posted and put on there and some of the Instagram reels and stuff that pop up. I mean, the show was not just entertaining from a comedy standpoint. It taught us a lot of life lessons about friendship and not doing drugs and being loyal to your mate and just all type of stuff. What black love looks like, what it looks like to be a faithful husband and wife. Just so many great things that it taught us. So many great feelings that I had today in looking at a lot of people's memories and how they posted little clips of the show that was their favorites and whatnot. My personal favorite for Mr. Malcolm Jamal Warner came in that first episode, people. Y'all remember the first episode, the pilot episode of the Cosby Show, where there was an issue with Theo and he was getting bad grades, and then he went and got an earring, and Cliff went to talk to him in the room, and they end up having a discussion about life, and he used the Monopoly money to kind of explain what your finances is like as an ordinary person. If you know the show, then you definitely know that. I probably will go back later on when I look at this for myself and post that particular episode for y'all to see if you haven't seen it. I mean, basically anybody of a particular age, y'all know what I'm talking about. That was the one great thing about the Cosby Show. It wasn't just a show that black people watch. It was a black show with a primarily black cast, pretty much all black cast, but it was not just a black show. Everybody watched the Cosby Show. Black, white, otherwise. That's why it was one of the. That's why to this day, one of the most popular shows in the history of television was the Cosby Show. And yeah, like I said, it's unfortunate what happened with Bill Cosby that kind of taints that memory for us. It's crazy that us who are older now, who lived during that time, we have a different memory of Bill Cosby than a lot of people who are younger would, because they know more about what happened in the unfortunate trial and all of that in his personal life than they do of the Cosby that we grew up knowing. And in that universe was one Malcolm Jamal Warner, who, of course, like everybody on the show during that time, was constantly badgered about their thoughts about Bill and did they know he was doing those types of things behind the scenes. But as many of the Cosby kids were loyal to Bill in that way, they also understood the assignment. It's not in their best interest to belittle that man when he created a legacy for them all. Not to mention the fact that as young people, he was wise enough to not keep them around that aspect of his life. That they didn't know these things because they didn't know these things. These were not the type of things he did around them. To him, he was just Dr. Huxtable slash Bill, teaching them the ways of the world that is television. As a man who basically spent his life on television, when you consider his work in I Spy and other TV shows, not to mention the several 70s movies that he did, Uptown Saturday Night, and those types of things. But again, we're not here to talk about Bill. We're here to talk about Malcolm Jamal Warner, who basically was known not only throughout the acting community, but also through the hip hop community, the poetry community, uh, comedian community. A lot of people were friends of Malcolm Jamal Warner. And the crazy thing is, his work on the Cosby Show did earn him an Emmy nomination, but it was not his best acting that he did in life. If you look at the show he recently did, which was The Resident, where he played a doctor of all things, just an excellent actor. Okay, he did his share of other movies and things as well. He grew up in the business and became one of the better people in terms of the acting profession that we have seen in this lifetime. And for him to no longer be here after living his life and basically deciding in his older years to finally settle down and get married as he did in recent years and have a kid and, waited purposely till like he was around 40 or so to really do that. As I wish a lot of people in life would kind of take that situation more seriously and consider those things before they decide to jump into marriage and childhood as he did. Was fortunate that he was not of the mindset of a lot of the child actors that we grew up knowing, particularly the ones in the early 80s, and how a lot of them end up turning out not so good. Fortunately, he was not in that crowd. He knew that crowd, but was not in that crowd because, as he spoke out on episode of Breakfast Club, where they interviewed him, he talked about how because they were filming and did everything in New York, he wasn't really with the Hollywood crowd so much because Hollywood was Hollywood and New York was New York, you know? And they were given the opportunity to, be on a TV show and be popular and all of that, but still neighborhood kids at the same time. And he kind of exudes that throughout his life, He never came off as, oh, that's Michael Jamal Warner. He think he all that. He a big time actor, blah 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 blah. He never came off like that on anything that you saw him in, whether it was movies or interviews or podcasts or any of that. He just seemed like one of us who just happened to have this great job being an actor and musician. You know, it just so happened Michael Jamal Warner was famous. It wasn't one of those, okay, I am, He never gave you that feel. Now, it's crazy because, of course, in life, I know some people who know some people, okay? In other words, I'm just basic podcaster A myself, but I happen to have went to school with people who end up being famous actors and musicians and poets and whatnot. And those people are on my Facebook page. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know who you is. And they happen to know Malcolm Jamal Warner personally, as in they've actually met him in the flesh, talked to him. In fact, one of my Facebook people posted a picture of them and Malcolm that they just took a week before he went on vacation. That's just how short a time it was that they had spoke to him. And now he's gone and, it's not just Theo is gone like we feel. Their friend Malcolm is gone. And that gotta hit different. Particularly with that person I'm speaking of, because they are of a particular age close to mine. And people your age, even in your 50s, ain't supposed to be not here no more like that. Just out the blue. It's a lot to feel, you know what I'm saying? One of the hardest things I'm learning about getting older is that when we lose more people like this and we start to look up and it's like, wow, half my family gone. Wow. Half the people I grew up watching is starting to pass away. Wow. Half the people I used to listen to on the radio no longer here. I mean, you really start to feel your humanity in these moments. You start to look at your mortality and start to say, okay, when do I really have to sit down and really, really start thinking about what it's going to feel like to truly be old? And most of the people around you are people that wasn't here when you started, The people that were here when you started, not here no more. It's it's a pretty sobering thought. And I don't want to bring everybody down with that thought, but As human beings, these are things we have to consider as we get up in our later years, you know? But it's crazy because, it's like, and I hate to think like this, but I imagine some of y'all do as well. When you think about, okay, like just say if you found out, okay, somebody from the Cosby Show died yesterday without knowing who it was, Theo is not the first name that would have popped in your head. He's not even the second or third name that probably would have popped in your head. I mean, you seen him recently. You see him right here. I mean, that's pretty much how he looked. Nice and healthy and strong and, you know, not looking like 54 whatsoever. But yet, he was the one. And I imagine, among all the tributes are, of course, are a lot of the people that worked with him on the Cosby Show. Of course, his fellow Cosby kids, they've had some things to say. People that were on the Cosby Show at some point worked with him. I mean, people like the great Adam Sandler, for instance. Did you know Adam Sandler was one time on the Cosby Show? Actually, a couple times on the Cosby Show as one of Theo's friends. They talked to him today about his thoughts on being on the Cosby Show and working with Michael Jamal Warner and what have you. And think about the greatness that he went on to have after that show. You think about people like Alicia Keys that was on that show. You think about people like Raven Simone, who was just 3 and 4 years old when she was on the Cosby Show, but went on to have a illustrious career all her own. When you think about That's So Raven and then later on the reboot Raven's House and some of the movies she did with Sinbad and all of that, and Eddie Murphy, and her time on The View, they were part of each other's lives. You think about Michelle Thomas, who he actually not only dated on the show as Justine, if you remember, because the character Justine on the show, but also dated her in real life for a time before her untimely passing. And Lord knows she left us way, way too soon. For those of you who are not familiar with Michelle Thomas, if you don't remember her as Justine on the Cosby Show, I'm pretty sure you remember her as the character Myra Monkhouse, Boutros Monkhouse, on the show known as Family Matters. But yeah, those two individuals dated. I mean, a lot of people posted that video today of the time that they were together while they were at Def Comedy Jam, and got a shout out from young Martin Lawrence. It's crazy how you think about these things, and then it's like, okay, every time they say somebody died now, you wonder, okay, who is it? And some of them hit you and some of them hit you harder. And this one definitely did, particularly when it wasn't, something crazy. It's just simply an act of God and accidental drowning and, that. Now, of course, it's a little different because he was not the only person that has passed in the last 48 hours. We had learned today that we lost this person. Ozzy Osbourne passed today. Now, a little different in the case of Ozzy, obviously, because Ozzy was 77. And, average life expectancy about 75. So 77, that's a pretty good deal. Then you consider how Ozzy lived his life, particularly his early life, where he openly talked about his addiction to drugs and alcohol and all type of stuff in his younger days, but then went on to become quite the family man. That's why, of course, I posted that picture of him not only as himself, but with his family, the Osbournes. Because for those of you who are younger, that's probably how you know Ozzy best. You don't know him as the lead singer of one of the greatest punk bands of all time, Black Sabbath. You don't remember him as the person famous for biting the head off a live bat. Basically, that was something that us growing up, that's how we knew Ozzy Osbourne. He was that crazy dude that bit the head off a live bat on stage, you know? That was before this thing called reality television came along, and they came up with the weird but outlandishly successful idea of putting him and his family on television and us following their exploits as the Osbournes. It made them all household names, basically. We already knew Ozzy, but of course, his wife, Sharon Osbourne, went on to do great things and became a talk show host over there on the talk. His daughter, her name escapes me, Kelly Osbourne, went on to have a career of her own, done some music of her own, did a couple talk show stints, a couple places, and did some game shows as well. Son Jack had his own little reality show himself later on down the line. And it's just as we start to see these things formulate and happen in the world, we lose people, one person after another. You just really need to appreciate the life that we've been given each and every day. We are all fortunate enough to wake up tomorrow. Make sure you give thanks to the God or the person you know as the creator for giving us another day to serve whatever purpose he would have us serve. Truly appreciate life for what it is, because tomorrow we may not have to worry about who's next, because it might be us. That's just the truth. I don't want to bring you down with these thoughts that I have about this, but it's something we all unfortunately have to consider our own mortality at some point in time. It is what it is. So again, some of these just hit different. So if you get some time next few days, just go through the comments of Malcolm Jamal Warner and all the people who are posting all these great tributes to him. The people that we knew he knew, the people that we didn't know he knew. It's crazy how I'm seeing a lot of those pictures today of people that you had no idea that at some point in life they had met Malcolm Jamal Warner and was able to have a conversation, take a picture, work with him in some way, shape, or form. The one thing that's got to make you feel good is that he lived a very full and accomplished life. He was a person that, as you have children of your own now, and y'all can sit down as a family and be like, who was Malcolm Jamal Warner? What was the Cosby Show? And you can go through the power of YouTube and Google and look these things up and watch it as a family and give your family your stories of how you grew up with Malcolm or Theo or however you came to know him. And y'all can share some good moments together. Because I'm sure looking down, he would want that. He was recently asked in a pod not too long ago what was he felt his legacy would be. And he had some good thoughts on it. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there about him, whether it's the clips of the Cosby Show or Malcolm and Eddie or whatever it is. Take a little time out to kind of check them out for yourself. Pay a little extra tribute to him in that way. He gave us a lot of good content to look at. So by all means, check it out. Now, Ozzy, again, you may not be a fan of his music or were a big fan of his reality show, but again, he was an entertainer also. Show him a little love too if you want. Or if you just don't know nothing about Ozzy, take time out, Google search him, and learn what he was about. The good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, in the end, considering how he lived his life, to what degree. He had Parkinson's disease. He had issues with his spine. He was addicted to drugs and alcohol at one point. He lived through all that for quite some time. It's quite a story in and of itself. Learn that story. See how you can apply some of the good, bad, and the ugly of it to your life and your thoughts and how you contend with things. But yeah, like I said, Malcolm, Ozzy, they gone. And as time goes on, we will lose other people to the ancestors, but we got to remember all those people, myself included. If I was to be gone tomorrow, I would want you to live your life. I would want you to do your best to have good days and be good to people. And remember, this life is a special gift that we all have been fortunate enough to be given for as long as we've been here. And let's do our best to respect it. That is the message this evening. I am Nighthawk, and that's what I got to say about it. So that is the special episode, giving some honor, some tribute to Malcolm Jamal Warner and Ozzy Osbourne. May they both rest in power. And as the summer goes on, remember these things when you get into situations where perhaps it's not in your best interest to let it linger or be angry or get upset or cause conflict. As we go through a summer of extreme heat and tragedies and violence and whatnot, let's take some time out each day to appreciate and enjoy this life. That's something I would all want us to do. So, my people, I give you that message. And until next time you see me on the air, which will be soon, hopefully, be blessed. Don't stress. When all else fails, let the good Lord deal with the rest. And remember, love this life and live this life, y'all. Do that for me, would you? This your boy E-Buck the Nighthawk. And my friends, we is out. Peace and blessings.
Looking for the ultimate throwback experience? Tune into Nighthawk Network Radio.